everyone, it's Mia from Rose Nails by Maria Slade Coombs, and today I'm going to show you how to do this ombre in hard gel, which I know that a lot of people find really tricky. So we're going to use Ink London Eye Gel. This is a white one, and then we've got a blush cover pink, and I also use a milky white. And I also use a clear, which I haven't got out at the moment, but I do get out. The products are exactly the same, but they've changed their pots, which are why they look a bit different. The black ones are the old pots, and the red and silver are the new pots. So what I'm going to do at first, obviously I'm doing this on a tip, which was really hard to do with the camera in front of me, so please bear with me. Some of my brush technique is a bit interesting because I've got my camera in my way. So I'm going to start off by using white hard gel, and so if this was on a client and you were sort of sculpting it out, then you would use the white hard gel to create your tip and sort of create the shape of your nail. So using that white hard gel, and you want to get it about 2/3 of the way down the nail towards the nail bed. So brushing downwards towards the client's cuticle area. Ideally, I left this a little bit thick at the bottom because I was kind of trying to rush this video a little bit. I do actually have a Nerf war going on about 5 foot away from me at this point between my son and my husband, so I was rushing it a little bit. But where the cuticle area is on the white bit, I would have made it a little bit thinner, and make sure you leave that area clear, ready for your blush pink. So pop that in the lamp, and then once that's cured, it'll look a little something like this. And then you want to go in with your blush cover pink, or, you know, whatever colour you want for your nail bed. I find this is a really nice colour. It suits a lot of skin tones. It's just really nice, and it blends into that white really nicely for an ombre. So you want to get quite a small bead of blush cover pink. Move it around to the cuticle area, sort of get your cuticle area, you know, all perfect on your client. As I said, I did leave that white a little bit thick, so you can sort of see the white through the pink a little bit at this stage, but you don't see it towards the end. And then you want to blend that down about 2/3 of the way down towards where you've used your white hard gel. Just a very thin layer of it at the moment. Don't worry if you can see white. Don't worry about any of that. Don't worry about getting a really nice pink nail bed at this stage. Just do a really thin layer. And at this stage, you stop and you wipe off that brush. Get rid of any excess cover gel that you've got on your brush. And then use your really nice dry brush to feather that pink down with a really light touch. So this is a really thin layer. The cover pink is really nice, and it blends really nicely. So you should be able to just feather it, and it kind of blends into nothingness towards the end of the tip. So you should end up with a little something like that. And then you can go in with a much bigger bead. Obviously, you've already got a slip layer down, so you can add in a bigger bead and sort of get that nail bed covered really nicely with the pink. Don't worry too much about an apex at this point. Obviously, sort of adding quite a bit of colour to the nail bed will create a bit of an apex, but it won't create the whole thing. But as I said, don't worry about that at this point. It's not important at this stage. At this stage, you just want to get that blend really nice. So once again, I know you can still see that white underneath it. You can't see that towards the end. Don't worry. Just keep adding your cover pink until you're happy with how your nail bed looks. Obviously, I'm doing this on a sort of semi-see-through tip. And that's not how a client's nail bed is going to be. So you're going to have quite a nice natural pink base underneath anyway. So keep blending that pink again until you're about halfway down with your sort of thicker cover pink. And once you get to that bit, just faffing around again. Oh, that's the beauty of gel. I sort of saw a little corner up the top and I needed more gel. Just move it where it goes. And once again, you stop, wipe that brush when you're about halfway down. And remember, you've already got that thinner slip layer underneath that you haven't cured yet. So now, again, with a really light touch, you're going to feather that cover pink down on the slip layer. If you get any sort of little bits of build up of pink like here, give your brush another wipe and you're going to feather it back down towards the cuticle, just those little sort of lips of cover pink that you get, and blend it back down. And it should all sort of blend reasonably nicely. At this stage, you're not going to have a perfect blend. That's okay. We're going to do a nice sort of cover of the milk. So pop that in the lamp. So at this stage, it looks a little something like this. Obviously, the blend is not perfect. It looks a bit like a drumstick sweet. So we're going to go in with ijel milk. And it's like the perfect creamy sort of milky white. And it's great because it doesn't mean that you lose your pink colour, but it just blends it like seamlessly. So if you watch from sort of how it looks now to how it looks after the milk. So you just put a really thin layer, just get that cuticle nice and neat. Obviously on a client you would have to make sure it's nice and neat against their sidewalls and against their cuticle, and then blend that thin layer of milk down. And it just sort of breaks up that sort of middle harsh blend. I mean, it shouldn't be that harsh anyway, but just where it is a little bit harsher than you'd like it for an ombre, then use that milk, just a thin layer of milk. And again, do not worry about an apex at this point. It's just to sort of blend those two colours together and pop that in the lamp. So this is what it should look like now. So you can see that the blend is pretty good, but there is no apex. There's a tiny little bit of an apex. So we're going to go in with ijel clear, and with any clear gel, the trick is to work slowly. If you work quickly, you just get loads and loads of air bubbles, and it just looks horrendous, and you wish you never used clear. So you're going to go in with clear, and this is where you're going to put down a slip layer, and then you're going to build your apex out of clear. This way, when you come to doing your shaping, you're going to be mostly filing into clear and not filing away your milk layer, which is doing that beautiful blending for you. So just pop a slip layer down, and then start to get a bigger bead to put into the slip layer to start to build your apex. I must admit as well, I'm really not used to working on nails this long. Most of my clients, long is still pretty short. So I don't get enough product here, and then I have to go back in for more product because I'm just not used to using that much product at all. That's the joys of working on tips. I do a lot of this very cat-handedly as well because I'm desperately trying to make sure that the tip stays on my tip stand. Obviously with a client you won't have that problem. You can be a bit more sort of, not forceful with how you're dragging the gel, but you can kind of control it a little bit better. I was having to do it very tentatively because my tip was hanging on by a thread. But yeah, float that clear gel down the slip layer, feathering it out towards the end. And then always check at the side for your apex. There's a little air bubble there as well. Make sure if you do get any air bubbles, I literally only had one because I was working nice and slow. But if you do get any air bubbles, for God's sake, get rid of them before you cure it. And then I've just noticed that there's not quite enough product towards the end. So I go back in with a little bit more. And don't be afraid to move your client's hands around. Like, move them to the side. Check your apex. Check your structure. If you need to, I always make sure that I turn my clients' hands around so I can see it from their view as well. You'll always be amazed at how wonky they can be when they looked perfectly straight to you. So make sure that you check from your client view as well, because obviously that's the most important thing. They're going to be the ones looking at them. So I'm done with my clear layer. I've got my apex where I want it to be, and I'm going to pop that in the lamp. And then I'm going to go in, that's sort of how it looks at the moment. I'm going to go in with a bit of cleanser and get rid of that inhibition layer. I'm just using a bit of kitchen towel because it's on a tip. Normally I would use Ink London's The Wipe. They are the best completely lint-free wipes that I have found. They're amazing. I wouldn't use anything else now. And I would say I'm going to go in with my normal filing routine of sidewalls, then cuticle, and then contouring the nail. But when you're working on a tip, it kind of all goes a bit crazy, and you kind of have to do it however you can hold the tip. So I'm doing my sidewalls and I'm contouring the nail down. I do sort of show sort of my angle of working in a second, because I think sometimes when you sort of look at this, it looks like I'm just going sort of forwards and backwards and not really doing much, but I'm angling my file like this, so it's slightly down, so you're going from the apex that's larger at the back to the thinner tip. And you want to contour that whole nail down. So once you've done your sidewalls and your cuticle area, then really contour that nail down. That gives you that nice thinness, so you get sort of about a credit card's worth of thinness towards the end. With the sort of structure of the white gel and then the cover pink gel and the milk gel as well, even if you do file a little bit through the clear, you're much more likely to file through the clear at the white tip end. I'm just trying to show you that there's still a few shiny patches, so if you've got some shiny patches still, they're dips in the nail, so keep filing, own that file, and make sure you get rid of all those shiny patches, because they'll notice when you put that top coat on. Don't just think, oh, it's a little bit of a dip, my top coat will cover that up. It won't, it will highlight it terribly. So yeah, so as you're contouring down, if you do file through any of the clear or even through the milk layer of this nail, then the filing down will happen at that tip end, so it will just look even whiter anyway, which is kind of what you want. So you shouldn't go through any of the sort of milk or any of the clear layer towards the apex, because you want that bit a bit thicker. There we go. Let's get rid of all my dust. Don't you just hate dust? There's dust everywhere when you're a nail tech. I find dust in places I didn't know I had. I'm just going to pop that back on the tip stand and give it a bit of a dust off. So that's what it looks like after finished filing. Give it a bit of a cleanse. So that is the full nail done in hard gel before top coat. I do think I could have filed it a little bit more if I'm perfectly honest with you, but I do find filing really, really hard when I'm just using a tip. I do it much better on a client's hands. So I'm going in with my Nailchemy No Wipe top coat, which is by far my favourite top coat to use. It's really, really nice. It goes on like a dream. My previous brand's top coat was really like gooey, and it kind of made the nails look thick, or thicker than I wanted them to look. So Nailchemy's top coat is just gorgeous. It goes on brilliantly. So just finish it off with your top coat, and obviously you can sort of add glitter and crystals and any nail art that your client wants before your top coat, if that's what your client desires. Make sure you really get around those side walls and those edges. Make sure everything's really sealed in with top coat. And there it is, and then pop that into the lamp. And there you have it. That's the finished nail. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I haven't actually done an ombre very often at all. In fact, I'm pretty new to the whole system. So yeah, so that's how I do it. Hopefully it works well for you as well, and those products do make it really, really easy to blend. So thanks very much for watching.